Hi everyone. In this episode of Make It in SolidWorks, we're going to continue the theme of making injection molded handles. This one is a fair bit more complex than what you've dealt with so far, in that I'm putting a double curvature into the mix, and then we are also going to take cores out of the top and the bottom of this item. So let's just show you quickly what that entails. There we go. So we're going to have a core coming out from this side and a core coming out from that side. Right, so let's get to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just roll back these features that I've done already and then delete the features and then start again. So here's my starting sketch, which is on my front plane. I think it is front plane. Yes. Okay. So I normally start most of my sketches on either the front plane or the top plane, depending on what kind of geometry, and then I try and be consistent with that so that I don't get things mixed up. If you're going to follow along, I would suggest that you don't increase this angle beyond 145 or decrease it. So keep it fairly open. Also, I think these dimensions should be similar to what I've got here. I've put a fillet in here because this is going to drive a lot of things. So in this case, it would be a good idea to put it in now, not later. So that's my starting sketch. Then I've got a profile sketch. I'm telling you this because we're going to use the swept boss base feature, which if I select will ask you for two commands. It'll say what is the profile, that is this one here, and then it'll ask you for an open profile. So that has to be closed, and this one here, the second one, the path itself has to be open. Mine's not shown at the moment, so I'm just going to go across to that sketch there and show it. There we go. All right. And so that's the starting point. So you can see here that we've got what are called compound surfaces. In other words, especially this one here, we've got curves going in two directions, one in that direction and the other one in that direction. So far, so good. Okay, so the next thing I've done is I've cut out the handle shapes, the top and the middle. So let's just delete that and start again. Right, so that sketch is on the top plane. There we go. And what I've done is I've kind of created a curve that tapers inwards, and the handle has followed the same shape. And I've put lots of curves in here because I want it to be fairly complex, so that when we do the cores, those holes inside here, they get around that complexity. So I've taken the base geometry and I've attached some things to it, like these lines here. You can see this line here, these two curves are not fully defined, so I should actually put in perhaps a dimension here. Let's see if that works. And there we go. And the other thing is I should attach that curve to this line using a tangent. There we go, and then it's fully defined. All right. So you can copy this. I'm not going to go through how to create this this whole sketch. I'm going to, for the sake of time, leave it up to you. But you can just copy what I've done here and change it a bit if you want. So exit that. And so now there's my sketch, and I am just going to extrude cut. So blind through all. Looks like I have to change direction. There we go. Right, so here I actually should put in a taper, which I'm going to a draft 0.5. Make it fairly small, and you can see that draft actually went outwards. Let's just click in the draft outward button to see what happens. No, it actually had gone inwards, so it's gone inwards, which is right. There might be a problem here, in that that's going to leave a slight sliver on this edge here, if you can see what's going to happen. So I'm going to leave it off for now, and we'll use a draft feature to do that. Okay, so there's my cutout. The next thing to do is to put in some large fillets. So I'm going to leave this at 10. And since I've got my show selection toolbar on, the next line I click, I'll get this thing which allows me to select a whole lot of edges at once. Say we're done there. In fact, I should have put the draft in first. So let's just go up one level and say draft. In this case, I'm going to use the top plane, because that's where I drew on, as the starting plane. And then under face propagation, I should be able to use either tangent or all faces, but I think it's not going to allow us to choose them all because there are no tangencies. So I'm going to have to select these by hand. Right, and that's, give it a fairly small draft here. Don't make it larger than 0.5 degree. And make sure the arrow is pointing up, because that means we're starting from the largest shape at the bottom and it's going to get smaller at the top. So that the arrow indicates in which direction the draft is going to go. It's going to get smaller as it goes up. Say yes. All right, and now since I've already done this fillet, I should be able to just drag this line and it'll fill those fillets in again. So the next stage I need to do is to cut out this top core. And for that, let's just see what I've got here. So you can see at the moment I've got this boss extrude, and I'm not going to, yes, let me just show you. So you can see at the moment that boss is separate from this shape here, and you can have a look in the top of your design tree. Once you have more than one solid body or a surface and a body, you'll get these things appearing in the folders. And you can see that I've got two solid bodies here, that one and that one. And I can hide one of these, so I can just click on it and hide it. And you'll see that, so that's a separate one. So let's just show you how I got to that. So I'm going to unhide this because I'm going to need that base geometry. I'm going to delete this one. And then have a look at the sketch. So the sketch is named 0 for some reason. In fact, I might just delete the sketch. I'm going to delete the sketch. Hopefully I won't get into trouble for that. And I'm going to put that sketch on the top plane again. As you know, I like using the 3 primary planes as my starting points. And what I want to do now is I want to create a offset sketch based on the current geometry. And in order to do this, I need to first of all create a line that goes all the way around on the outside only. I cannot do it on both of them. So if I right click on a line here, I can say select tangency, and I'll get all the lines selected for me. Then I'm going to select my offset command. Currently it's at 10. You can see it's offset at 10. I want it to be about 3 millimeters, and I can just drag. I don't know if you can see, as I drag the mouse either side of the selected line, it'll place it inside or outside. So far so good. Let's do the same on the inside. So I'm going to right click on this line, select tangency. I'm going to do an offset, and this time go inwards. All right. Now I want to create these 2 sets of lines. I want to create a join between them. So I don't want the bottom set of lines. I just want it to go up to here. So I'm going to put in a construction line that's going to be something that I can move around if I need to. So I want a dimension in here. Let's make it 38. And now I can box select as many of these as I can find. I think, yes, I want to get rid of those two fillets. So I'm going to delete that lot and then extend these ones. So just hold the shift button down. Seems not to want to do it. Okay, if that doesn't work, it's because these are offset from those lines and they're sort of linked. So that line there is linked to that line length, and it won't allow you to extend it using the trim command. So what you can do is just drag this line down till it meets that line, that construction line. Okay, and now to join those lines, I'm going to use this tangent arc command, which if you click and drag outwards in the direction you want to go, you can just drag around to the second line. So click, drag, drop it in. Those should be fully defined, but they aren't. I think all they need is a dimension. So let's just put one in. There we go. Right, so now we have a closed curve, which I can use to make an extrusion from. So I'm going to use that to make an extrusion, and this bit you need to follow a little bit more closely than normal because I'm going to do some unusual things. So there's my sketch. Let's go to extruded boss, and that extrusion is going upwards from that point, but I want it to go from a certain point close to this line downwards because I want to use my draft of 0.5. So instead of going from the sketch plane, I'm going to use the offset command, and I'm going to offset it about 60 millimeters. So there we go, that's 60 millimeters. And let's just see what happens when you go downwards, right? So this is going to start this extrusion a little bit above that point, which I can probably adjust down to 58. That's about right. And I want to now extend this back down to the base plane. So I'm going to go back down to 58. So I've started 58 above, and I'm going to go back down by 58. And because I've got my degree in here, it's going to taper inwards and create the draft for me. Let's just check that that draft is going in the right direction. So I'm going to click on this. Yes, it is. So it's drafting downwards. Now, here's the neat little trick, the feature that you're going to use a lot. Here's this little button which says merge result, which takes any kind of feature that you use and tries to merge it with what's gone before. If I unclick that, this is a separate piece. This extrusion is separate from that piece, and I'm happy with that. So I'm going to say yes, okay. So let's have a look here. Here we have, there's the latest part of my extrusion, which is called fillet, and then that's that one there. So the next thing I need is I need a surface which is offset from here, by which I can cut this piece. So let's just hide that piece like this. And if you go to surfaces and you go to this offset surface, you can then select surfaces, as many as you want. And at the moment the default distance is 10 millimeters. I want it to be 2.5 because that's going to be my wall thickness. So 2.5, and I want it to go in the opposite direction. So it's now actually in there, but it's hidden. And I'll say okay to that. And there you can see there's my surface. And if I go to the top here, just above solid bodies, you can see surface bodies. There's that surface, which if I hide this one, you can see the surface body. Okay, I'm going to make this bottom one show, and then we're going to cut that piece with this surface. And because these are all separate, it doesn't matter. There's no effect on the rest of the item. So what I use here is the cut with surface command. I use this surface, and you'll see it immediately gives you an arrow which points to, in this case, points outwards. It means it's going to chop that piece off, which is not what I want. I want it to chop this lower piece off. So I can click on the button as it does there. Later on, if you have problems, what you can do, if it's not doing what you want it to do, just make sure this auto select button is not selected, and then you can actually select the piece that you want. All right, so there we go. So let's hide this again, and that's done its job. And now I want to put a fillet in here of, let's say 2.5 or something around that, whatever we can achieve. Sometimes when you have a complex shape like this, when you put in a fillet, you need to choose more than, or select more than one edge before it'll start showing what it's doing. So if it's too big, like if that were 3.5, I think it would then just, no, even, well, let's make it 5. Okay, there it's an error at 5, but 2.5 is quite okay. So sometimes it's worth just clicking a few more lines to see if the program will do what you want it to do. So there we go, done. Right, so now we've got a piece by which we can, it's like a plug, we can cut away into this other piece, the main handle. And to do that, here's another magic command. It's combine. I never remember where it is. Let's just have a look to see. So it's in the features. Here it is, combine. Okay, so click that one. And here you can do 3 things. So combine is a bit misleading. You can either add, subtract, or common. I forget what common does. In this case, we want to subtract, not add. So I'm going to subtract, and it says, what is the main body? That's the main body. And then it immediately goes to the bodies to subtract is this one here. When I say that, I get this subtraction happening. Right, brilliant. So we'll do one more, and then I'll cut this video short and then do another short video on the peripherals, on the other bits and pieces. So let's go to the next command, which is this boss extrude, which you can see has been messed up by what I've done previously. So I'm going to delete it, which should leave, by the way, if you get this confirm delete dialog box, you'll see that it defaults to delete absorbed features. In this case, you want to not delete absorbed features, or in all of what I've been doing, don't delete absorbed features, because we want to keep them, we want to use them again. So I'm going to say yes. It seems that my sketch, so that's the sketch there. I'd renamed it offset cut cavity. Let's have a look at what it did. All right, I'm just going to go like that so that we're on the right side. So I'd offset those lines on the top edge with the fillet, and I'd offset this inner line of the handle, and then I'd added 2 radiuses. It's no use trying to fix these up. I'm just going to delete the whole lot and start again. I think it was 3. Okay, I'm just trying to remember what it is that I'd offset it by. I think it was 3 millimeters. So here I'm selecting just the lines that I want. And once again, I cannot select lines which are going to go in 2 different directions. That one there, 3 millimeters. And I want to go down. And then the same thing again. millimeters, so that one must go up. And then I want to join them with an ordinary fillet tool. So that's this one here, and I'm going to make that 5 millimeters. So I should be able to select from there to there. Seems not to like it. Let's try that. Okay, so there might be a problem in that splines don't like to be filleted. So you see here, entities to fillet, it's got this as a spline. Let's try this. So I'm going to leave that in place. Or no, I'm not. I'm going to put in points to mark where this has its start, finish, and some other point on it. Then I'm going to delete this line and then create a replica of it. But this time, instead of being a spline, let's do that somewhere where you can see what I'm doing. So instead of being a spline, it is now an arc, which SolidWorks is much happier filleting. So I'm going to go from that point to, if I can get it, to this point. But doesn't seem to have chosen that other point. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to select that line and this line and just make them I won't do it. All right, so those should be concentric. And I think the reason it's not showing it as a concentric line is that because it's got a taper, it's now it's at an odd angle. Okay, I'll explain that in a moment. So I'm going to have to eyeball this and just give it a dimension 526. Let's see if that does. No, so it needs to be sharper than that. So 524. Somewhere around there, and I should be able to put in. It doesn't give me. Right, so I think the only way other way I'm going to be able to fix this is to actually give it some more constraints. So I'm going to create a center line. And I'm going to give that point and that point a concentricity around this line, like so. And then I'm also going to give them, let's just unselect that line, make them horizontal, and then give these, yes, they don't need a width, but they do need a dimension. That's not going to work. Let's go. Hold the shift button down, so I'm going to click on the center of this line to that point, give us a distance. And here I can control how far away that line is from this edge. So I'm going to make it 26 and see if that gives me something. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. And I'm not defining the ends of these lines because I'm going to now fillet them. So let's try that again. 5. Yes. Okay, so you see there's a big problem trying to fillet a spline. Whenever you have a problem and SolidWorks won't fillet, just check that you don't have a spline somewhere messing things up. So there we go. We've got this. This is not properly defined, so it probably will need a distance between these points now. And there we go. It goes black. Okay, so now with that in place, let's exit that. That is on the ground plane. And in this case, we're going to do something similar to what we did in the other one, except now we can do, there are fewer steps because we are going to extrude in one direction. We're only going to extrude up to a certain point. So let me see if we can get this right without creating an offset surface. I want to extrude this downwards, and I'm going to go offset from surface and select this surface, and I'm going to give it a 2.5, which is our wall thickness. There we go. So you can see it's offset by 2.5, and now I should be able to give it a taper as well, 0.5, and we've done it. And in fact, what I could have done is I could have done an extrude. So let's delete that and start again. And instead of doing an extrude, we're going to do an extrude cut, and we're going to go the same thing, offset from surface, from that surface by 2.5, and we want a taper of 0.5 degree. And so we're done. Okay, so I'm going to end this one now, and then I will show you the other little features in the next video.